I'm hoping that you could give us a quick summary of PeduL. What is it and what is its value?
Yeah. So recruiting is corporate America's most expensive problem. And with Gen Z entering the workforce, I think in the next couple of years, we're about to be a little over a third of the workforce. Corporate America is really struggling to connect with us, to reach us, to target quality talent, but diverse talent. And when I graduated college, it was extremely difficult to find a job. And I went to Brown University. I had the accolades. I had, whatever. And I realized if this was a problem that I was facing, I couldn't believe what everyone else must be going through around the country and honestly around the world. So what we did is we figured out what is the core issue of why recruiting seems like a big game of hide and seek, right? Like employers can't find us, we can't find them. But the irony is no one's trying to hide. So if no one's trying to hide, you must be seeking in the wrong place. So what we discovered was everything in the recruiting world is about trying to have Gen Z go to corporate America, whether it's at a career fair, at Handshake, Indeed, LinkedIn. But no one had gone to corporate America and said, actually, let's go to where Gen Z lives, which is social media, right? I don't visit social media. That's where I live. And so we're the first people to bring the idea of social media, digital ads, influencer marketing to talent acquisition. So companies from a marketing perspective have used social media as a way to reach consumers. But HR and talent acquisition had never used social media as a means to reach candidates. So we brought the two paradigms of like Gen Z social media and HR and recruiting, and are building the infrastructure to connect employers and career opportunities to Gen Z candidates that are scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, things like that.
So now that we all know what PeduL's about, I'm going to ask you the lead question for today, which is this: how do I become an employer of choice for a generation? In this particular case, Gen Z. So take us through how your customers and perhaps even your prospects engage with you to figure out, how do I make this the place that great Gen Z talent will think of when they think about where to launch a career or to extend a career?
Yeah, great question. So it's two-pronged approach answer in terms of you have to actually be a company that Gen Z would love to work at, right? And that's a whole different realm that we can also absolutely get into in terms of like what communication structure should you have in place, what type of career mobility, what type of values should you be emulating inside your company, things like that. But the other part of that, which is where we really are dominating, is how do you actually communicate any of that to Gen Z, right? Because the first step to being the employer of choice for a generation is Gen Z knowing you're even an employer or a good employer to work for, right? So a lot of our companies that we work with, a lot of the large Fortune 500 companies, big in consumer packaged goods, CPG, everyone knows them, like L'Oreal or Estee Lauder. Everyone knows them for their products, but nobody thinks of them, especially certain demographics like men, that's a great place for me to work, right? A lot of top talent is going to your consulting, your financing, your top tech giants, things like that. But nobody's actually considering like, oh my God, I could go work at a L'Oreal. I could go work at an Estee Lauder. I could go work at Unilever. So the first step to becoming an employer of choice is we have to know who you are, because we can't apply to something we don't know exists. So that's the first thing that we'll do is we'll allow them to get their employer value proposition or their careers out to millions of Gen Z via social media and viral content and things like that. So that's the first thing. We got to know who you are. The second thing is, and this is, this phrase or word is used all the time, but it's important, is authenticity, right? So companies are learning to become authentic, I guess you could say. But that's not their bread and butter, right? A lot of their lingo, a lot of their interviews are very corporate-y. You very rarely see a CEO or a hiring manager talk in more of a casual sense. It's always like suit and tie, like corporate lingo, very careful with what they say. Gen Z is used to like iPhone style videos, wearing whatever and just speaking whatever comes to their head. So we're teaching corporate America, how to have that authentic voice and really humanize them. But we're doing that by connecting them to people that have mastered authenticity, which are influencers, which
Yeah.
are content creators. So that's the second thing is, okay, how can we bring a more authentic voice to who you are, so Gen Z can actually resonate with who you are. And the other thing that's tied to authenticity is trust. So Gen Z historically distrusts three major things: government, media, and large corporations. So if you're a large corporation trying to hire, and you're telling me why you're awesome and why I should trust you, you're not even fighting from a place of neutral. Like, I'm not even neutral. I already distrust you just because you're a large corporation, and anything that comes out of your mouth, I have like this like skeptical attitude for. However, who I do trust are my favorite influencers, the people that I follow on social media. If they tell me something and they speak with an authentic voice, and I'm following them because I trust them, and they're exposing me to an opportunity I never would have thought about applying to, that's how we start to make these companies that, again, people don't think about as applying to, as an employer of choice for Gen Z.